Back on the Sportsmax Zone, reigning world champion in the Javelin, Anderson Peters was the only Caribbean winner at the Ostrava Golden Spike Athletics meeting in the Czech Republic earlier on Tuesday. The Grenadian threw 87.88 meters to secure the win at the Continental Tour Gold Level event. Peters defeated 2012 Olympic champion Walcott of Trinidad and Tobago. Walcott's best was 84.47. The victory extended Peters' unbeaten streak to 5 competitions this season. There were 2 other podium finishes for Caribbean athletes. The second fastest man in history, Johann Blake, had to settle for the runner-up spot in the 100 meters. The Jamaican clocking a season's best, 10.05, to finish behind Great Britain's Reece Prescott, who logged a personal best 9.93, finishing on the outside. Another British athlete, Jamaican-based John Hughes, was third in the same time as Blake, 10.05. The race was run into a negative 1.2 meters per second wind. In the women's 400 meters, Jamaica's Olympic Games finalist Candice McLeod also secured a second place finish. She sped to a season's best, 50.38, to come in behind Poland's Natalia Kaczmarek, who produced a lifetime best, 50.16. In the women's sprint hurdles, Bahamian Devine Charlton was fourth in the season's best time of 12.88. The Olympic bronze medalist Megan Tapper of Jamaica crossing the line sixth in 13.12. Olympic champion Jasmine Camacho Quinn of Puerto Rico won in 12.56. The meet also saw world best set in the rarely run women's 300-meter hurdles. Femke Bol of the Netherlands, who won Olympic bronze over 400 hurdles, raced to 36.86, dismantling the previous record of 38.16 set by Zuzana Heinova of the Czech Republic in 2013. Now, to discuss the results of today's meet, we are joined by our in-house analyst, Leighton Levy. Leighton, let's start with the reigning world champion from Grenada. We saw him with 93.07 personal best last week, 87 plus today, which is better than everything he did last year. We know he had some injury issues going to Tokyo, but really, really satisfying to see Peters in the form that he is at the moment.
Look, Anderson Peters is a winner, right? And one of the things that you notice with him is that when he's in shape, when he's in form, he has a confidence that gives him an advantage over anybody who is in the field with him. And we saw that today from the very first throw. In fact, that very first throw, he didn't have thrown after that because nobody even approached it. Of course, it was a Trinidadian throw, and he got closest, I think, with 84 meters. But beyond that, nobody. Jacob, who pressed him in Doha in early May, was nowhere to be seen today. So you're looking at a situation where Anderson Peters clearly right now, in my mind, certainly is the favorite to defend his title in Oregon, the one that he won in 2019 in Doha.
And how disappointing would his Olympic year been for him last year, Leighton, because he had, I think, an 85 plus season's best last year, which we know, based on what we've seen already this year, that was below par for him.
Well, you remember, as you reminded me a few weeks ago when we spoke about him, that knee surgery, he was just making his way back. So he would have been disappointed, but I think in the context of the understanding of the fact of that his knee was not where it's supposed to be last year during the Olympics, I think he'd be pretty satisfied with the performance, given how he's been throwing this season. 93 is a whole new personal best for him. And of course, his 87 meters today tells you that he's in the kind of shape that would perhaps make him favored to win a second world title. And of course, with the Olympics only 2 years away, I'm sure that if he wins again in Oregon, he'd be pretty confident going on to the next 2 years, thinking that this is his opportunity to win his first Olympic title.
Yeah, and speaking of Olympic title, Walcott from Trinidad and Tobago, he came second in that event he threw 84.47 meters. He knows how to win an Olympic medal. Based on what you've seen from him, how do you assess his performance today?
It was right within his wheelhouse. I think he's been consistent in being inconsistent this season. I mean, he had a couple of good throws earlier in the season, but then he seemed to have fallen off a little bit. And then come back again today with a pretty decent throw of 84 meters. I think Keyshawn's issue, without knowing anything else, is that he just needs to be a little bit more consistent in how he throws. Because we saw it. I mean, he won in 2012, came back in 2016, finished with a bronze medal. but then he kind of tailed off after that and making his way back now. I think injury may have played some part in that, but what I've seen so far this season, the only issue I have with him so far this season is that he's not been as consistently good as we know he can be.
And in the men's 100, we had Reece Prescott. He was able to cup first place with 9.93. Johann Blake, the Jamaican, coming second. And, Leighton, you and I had a discussion earlier today as to what is stopping Johann from, getting to that number one spot.
Look, Johann Blake is 32 years old. He's had almost 6 years of difficulty getting back from those two horrendous hamstring injuries. What I think has happened to Johann is that he's forgotten how to win. When you get to 60, 65, 70 in a race, the key thing for you to be able to do, and we saw him do it at the Olympic Games in 2012, he just relaxes and allows his body the speed to take over and be able to maintain that speed. Since so far the last couple of years, he's struggled. This is probably the best shape he's been in the last 2 years. And based on what I'm hearing coming out of his camp, he's training really well. The thing is that when he is in competition, actual competition, he tends to tighten up over those last 30 meters where he seems to be running on the spot. So he gets to his top speed and then he decelerates rapidly because he gets overly tense. And it costs him, and I think that's what happened to him today. He said afterwards that he wasn't paying attention, but based on what I'm seeing, my eyes are telling me that he got tight again, just like we saw him at the National Stadium a couple of weeks ago when he lost to Johann Blake. He was leading the race, then got tight, started running on the spot, and then Johann Blake passed him and beat him by, I think it was like a meter. Blake just needs to remember what he used to be and try to get back that confidence that made him the beast. And I think we'll see some good times, sub-10 times, from him going forward if he just learns to relax again like he used to. When he used to beat Usain Bolt, when he beat Usain Bolt at the trials in 2012, albeit Bolt was injured. The fact is, however, he still had to beat him, and he did. And he got to the Olympic Games around 9.75 in a field where Tyson Gay was fourth in 9.80, Bolt won in 9.63. Johann Blake just needs to remember who he is, the beast, and bring the beast back with that confidence that we saw from him so many years ago, but has been eroded now by those injuries and the fact that he doesn't seem to trust his body anymore, regardless of how well he's training.
Yeah, Leighton, Candice McLeod, of course, I can't recall any pundit who had penciled her in for a lane in that Olympic final in Tokyo, but she did the business. Season's best time today. Is she on track to continue her progression at the World Championships in Oregon?
If the trend continues from last year, George, where Candice McLeod seemed to run a personal best almost every single week she stepped on the track. The only exception was in Doha when that win, literally she admitted to me a couple of weeks ago when she ran national stadium and ran her season's best, then a 50.58, that the win was terrible, and of course then she executed poorly. But this is just another step along the way for Candice McLeod. This 50.38 today is 0.2 faster than the 50.58 she ran 2 weeks ago. She's right where I think she wants to be in terms of the progression this season. Remember, the national championships are just about 3.5 weeks away. I think she's in a good place right now. I think we'll see her run much faster as the season progresses, and of course bring her best out in Oregon in July. Because I think Candice McLeod, she said to me that, well, it was obvious to me from early that she's embraced a new race plan. She says she wants to feel like she's suffering for her to run fast, because she felt like even when she ran the 49.51 last year in the Olympics in the semifinals, she didn't feel the pain in her legs. She didn't have the headache. She didn't have the discomfort that makes you feel like you're giving your all. So she changed her race plan, and it seems to be working so far this year. And let's see where that plan takes her, first of all, at the national championships coming up at the end of next month. And, of course, ultimately in Oregon. Yeah,
last one before we go in the short time we have left. 300 meters hurdles. You rarely see the hurdles lined up for a 300 meters run. Femke Bol went there and she erased Hainova's name from the record books. This is more than useful for her in her own preparations, given her ambitions.
50-point indoors, the 400-meter, George, and, of course, the new world's best in the 300-meter hurdles. All I can tell you is that if Susan McLaughlin and Dalal Mohammed step up this year, Femke Bol could take it from them, because If you remember, she's the third fastest woman in history, 52.03 at the Olympics last year. It took 2 times of 51 to beat her. If right now, based on the form that we saw her coming in from indoors to outdoors, I think she's probably in 51 shape again this year, because if you extrapolate the time of the 300 that she ran today and to the 400 meters, she is right within that wheelhouse of 51 something, maybe 51 high, which makes her a legitimate contender. And I think she said that she knew she was in shape, but running the race today told her just how good of shape she was in. But the confidence plus the form, George, I'm thinking that Femke Bol is a real threat for any of the contenders this year in terms of those going for that gold medal in Oregon this summer.
Yeah, and even when she reviews this race, she'll see a major technical flaw, because I know you would have seen when she came off the curve, the first hurdle after that, she lost her balance badly. She was tilting to the right, and then she steadied herself and went on, so the time could have been even faster.
And she quit the hurdle earlier as well.
Yeah, so technically imperfect and to run a record with that. Yeah. We're out of time, but I have to ask, Camacho Quinn, the women's sprint hurdles, the Bahamian Charlton in 4th, and Jamaica's Tapper in 6th. You get the sense that the rest of the field, the rest of the women in these sprint hurdles are still no closer to laying a glove on this outstanding Puerto Rican.
Look, Jasmine could fall and get up and beat anybody in the world right now. That's how confident she is. She did, the first part of her race was absolutely terrible, and still she didn't lose her composure. She recovered and came back to win against a quality field. For Meg, I'm not quite sure what happened. I think maybe her legs are just tired from a lot of work that she's done during this week, because she's been in Europe for the last couple of weeks training. So that the only explanation I have is that probably her legs are heavy. Devin Charlton, not quite sure, but not bad. 12.88 doesn't suggest that she has anything to worry about. And I think given that she probably is in her last cycle now before the Bahamian Championships, I think she's in a good place.
Yeah, there you go. Good job, man. Thank you as usual. All the best.
Take it easy.
Good. Leighton Levy there will walk alone for some more time before the start of the next English Premier League season. Back with more after these.
That's true.